How's it going, Daddy? It's just me talking to you. I was reading in the news today that they're finally going to decriminalize possession under 2.5 grams in BC, which is amazing. Number one, they have these safe injection sites for people, and you're allowed to go in there with your drugs, do your drugs in front of somebody, so that if you overdose, there's somebody watching, which is great to help people to not die from using. The problem is the police sit outside and wait for you to come out with your drugs and then arrest you. So it defeats the whole process and purpose of these safe injection sites. So I think it's a step forward. This war on drugs hasn't worked. So I feel a war on addiction would be the best thing to get to the root of the problem, get rid of the addict, get rid of the dope. So that's my rant on that. But today I wanted to talk to you about the addict itself. I know when I was going through my issues with addiction, I got arrested numerous times. So and I always wanted help. I always asked for help, but the system doesn't work that way. You go to jail, you spend time in a remand center, wait for your trial, you plead, nothing is done. There's no help for you in that place. So I had a bunch of charges up in Sault Ste. Marie, so I came back to Hamilton to get away from the charges. And then I decided to go back to Sault Ste. Marie. And so I stole a truck from Hamilton, went to Sault Ste. Marie, and about 20 kilometers outside of the Sioux, I get busted in this stolen truck. So they grip me up, take me to the holding tank, and then they take me to ARTC, which is the Algoma Remand and Treatment Center. So it's a treatment center and a remand center. So you're remanded there until you're sentenced, and then you either go to the pen or spend your sentence there, or they send you to medium security, whatever have you. But it's also a treatment center for addicts. The only stipulation is you have to have 9 months, a 9 month sentence. So I spent about 3-4 days in pre-custody. Talked to my lawyer. They said, if you take it to trial, they want 2 years plus a day, which means you go to a federal penitentiary. Or if you plead guilty, they'll give you 2 years less a day, which means you go to a provincial penitentiary. So we get close to the trial. I spent about 7 days in remand. We get to the date where I'm about to plead, and my lawyer says to me, listen, the Crown's offering you 6 months. You plead guilty, you can go for 6 months. I'm like, okay. I said, listen, why don't we do this? Why don't I plead to 9 months? So I'm going to give myself 3 months extra on my sentence so I can go to the treatment facility. And he says, okay, yeah, that's a great idea. I'll do that for you. So I'm like, all right. So I'm giving myself an extra 3 months in jail so I can get this treatment. So I plead out. The judge gives me my sentence. They didn't calculate my 7 days in pre-custody, works out to time and a half, because you're in pre-sentence, pre-sentence custody. So I had 14 days. So it ends up I get 8 months and 27 days sentence. So I'm like, all right, whatever. They're gonna let me have treatment on that. It's close enough. No, I get to the Algoma, and I'm like, okay, listen, I'm 9 months. I want to go to treatment. That was my whole purpose of taking the extra 3 months, was to go to treatment. They say no. So I end up spending an extra 3 months in the bucket in a remand center, which is pure bullshit. There's nothing. You're basically, you become a better criminal. You're in there with criminals. You're doing criminal behavior. You're using drugs in there. I'm on a GP range with other guys that are just like me. We're fighting. It's ridiculous, So this is the problem with the system. If you're gonna have, there's drug addicts. I didn't start doing crime until I was 40 years old. I worked for the railroad. I had a full-time job. I was doing good until 40 years old. So I got myself in trouble at 40 years old and asked for help at that point because I knew I was going down the wrong path. They denied it. Even though I asked for a longer sentence, they denied me the help. So, I ended up 5 years of in and out of jail, drugs. I couldn't get into a rehab center to save my life. So that's the problem with the system, and they need to change that because there are addicts that are only criminals because of their addiction. There are pure criminals, don't get me wrong, but there are people out there that only do crime for their addiction. So that's all I'm saying. That's what I wanted to get out today. I hope you guys are happy with watching this transformation and progress. I'm 2 days away from a year sober, so things are good, man. All right, thanks for your support. Love you guys all, and we'll talk to you soon. Peace.